It's so interesting and funny how the world works sometimes. As we look into this topic, especially just when South Africans are chasing Ghanaians and other African nationals out of their country. Ladies and gentlemen, this is more than a coincidence. This is Goldfields Ghana Limited in Ghana. This company has been mining Ghana's gold since 1993. They are in Takwa, by the way. They've been here for the last 33 years enjoying Ghana's gold and the peace of mind we grant them to do what they do. But their mining lease will expire next year, April 2027. And so their CEO is being proactive. He is in Ghana lobbying the government of Ghana and traditional leaders of the mining communities so he can get an extension of their mining lease for another 20 years, ladies and gentlemen, after exhausting 33 years. But guess where this company actually originates from? Interesting. It comes from South Africa. South Africans are the majority shareholders of this company. They own 71.1% of the operations, and 18.9% is owned by a Canadian company, and government of Ghana only owns 10%. And they have until next year, April, to get their lease extended. Ladies and gentlemen, to be honest, this company has prospered in Ghana. They have made so much money from our land. They are ranked number 2 on the list of most profitable companies in Ghana, only behind MTN, which is also from South Africa for many years. For instance, in 1 year, they produce around 15 to 16 tons of gold. 1 year, I said. They don't even do underground mining, ladies and gentlemen. They only dig pits. They have the largest open pit in Takwa in all of Africa, and they mine on one of the richest gold reefs in Ghana. They are financially good. Do you have any idea what the value of that 15 to 16 tons of gold they do in a year is in today's world price? Do you know how much? You are looking at least 2 to 2.3 billion US dollars in 1 year, ladies and gentlemen. They are simply cashing big time, cashing in on our gold on behalf of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not hating, but the kind of money our leaders go to the IMF and the World Bank to borrow is what they dig from right under our feet every single year. Let that sink in as a Ghanaian. And the painful part is the kind of agreement they initially signed with the government of Ghana in 1993 was under the Colonial Mining Act, which gave them at least 30 years to mine uninterrupted. But just last year, 2025, the government of Ghana announced plans to revise that term of lease from the 30 years to 15 years. And I'm not even sure if that amendment has been gazetted yet. But what we know now is their mining lease is expiring next year, April. Ladies and gentlemen, it's enough. It's enough. We have been foolish enough to let them take away our resources for that long. But moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, this should have never been allowed to happen in the first place. They are asking for additional 20-year extension. And I'm saying to the government of Ghana, end their contract right there. They don't need their contract renewed, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to go beyond that. We appreciate their investment in Ghana and all that they have done so far in our mining industry. We appreciate all that, but when I look at the current state of Takwa, with how they are lacking behind in development, ladies and gentlemen, there is no way we can even consider extending that lease. Ghanaians, you have to get it straightforward. Ghana is of age, ladies and gentlemen. Ghana is matured now. We have more than qualified Ghanaian-owned mining companies that can take over easily. Easily, I said. Easily without needing one South African on site. From the ore extraction to the processing of the ore to the gold production itself, we can completely handle it, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, you know Ghana has the mining companies that can take over. You know we have the capacity. You know engineers and planners can take over. We don't want you to sit there, Mr. President, and be fearful of what Ghanaians will say, when in fact what I'm saying is right because he's your brother. No. It is absolutely better for a Ghanaian company to run that mine than to continue giving it to foreigners who will do the same job as Ghanaians will and take all the proceeds to their country.
And we have the privilege of being the largest gold mining company in Africa. And so when we think about our business in Ghana, we see it as an extension of who we are as an African mining company. So when I think about Tarkwa, it's a really important part of our business. In fact, 25% of our production comes out of Ghana, our global production. A quarter of our production is from Ghana. In some respects, we were very disappointed to see that Damang is no longer part of our group, because over 30 years of being part of Damang and seeing the success of Damang, it was a time, part of the regulatory changes, that moved on to different ownership. What we are proud of, though, is we have set Damang up for a sustainable future. And when we started the conversation with the government about what the future of Damang was, we were very clear that the most important thing for us is that all of those jobs and livelihoods that were dependent on Damang mine continued. So we invested quite a lot in ensuring that we had a plan for the sustainability of Damang. We were willing to hand that asset over to ensure that that asset was sustainable. And what we've seen today is that the work over the last 12 months has meant that we've now got a mine that's continued without interruption. And that, to us, was the most important thing. But I will say this today, is that we are not going to give up in any way on Tarkwa. So in November last year, we submitted a lease extension for the Tarkwa mine, which would give us, at least for the initial term, another 20 years of mining at Tarkwa. This will require quite a significant amount of reinvestment. We're going to have to move a huge amount of more material. We're going to have to invest a whole lot in additional fleet and equipment. That's going to require additional manpower to actually move that material over the next 20 years. But what that will do is set up Tarkwa to be a really successful world-class asset for another 20 years. And then during that time, we can consider how we continue to extend the life of that asset beyond that period. So we are very committed to Tarkwa. And if there's a disappointment that I don't spend enough time at the mine in Tarkwa, is because unfortunately a lot of the time that I'm spending in Ghana has been to try and lobby the Minister, Minerals Commission. We're meeting this week with the Minister of Finance and all of those politicians who actually have a role to play in the decision about the role that Goldfields has in the future. So a lot of the work that we're doing and that I'm having to lift is to really try and present the case of why Goldfields. And if I come back to why Goldfields and why we feel so convicted about the work that we do, is that our strategy is really clear. We don't just mine gold for the sake of our shareholders, for all of the international shareholders around the world. A key part of our strategy is to make a meaningful difference in the host communities in which we operate. And if I look at the great work